Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trader Room Plus course CPI. My name is Lee Goldstein, the Trading Director for 10-Minute Trades. Please remember, I'm not a financial advisor. All the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. Okay, we are a couple of minutes early, so I'm just going to let people roll in. We are streaming this morning on YouTube, and we have a couple of minutes before we get started. Everybody, just a reminder, go to the website time.is and make sure your computer is in sync. Time.is. All you have to type in is time.is. And don't forget that this is an increase margin event. Brokers are raising their margins. Um, I think, I'm not going to trade on what I think, but I do think CPI is going to be up, not down. So I think the market, well, we'll see. Maybe it'll be as expected. You never know. But I do think CPI is going to be up. Normal people know the truth that inflation is rampant. Every bill that you pay, everything that we do, almost everything, the prices are higher. I mean, if you go to a restaurant, if you order takeout, if you pay your utilities, your insurance, there's not a single thing that I don't purchase that isn't more expensive. My medical insurance drug program doubled this year. Doubled. It didn't go up 20%. It doubled. So, the unfortunate thing is there is no government anymore. It's just it's just a disastrous situation. Both sides of the fence. You have double billionaires, as Bernie says, billionaires on this side, billionaires on that side. No one's looking out for regular people anymore. But regular people know the truth. We don't have the best insurance plan in the world. We don't have limousines driving us from soccer game to soccer game with our kids. We don't have security. There's no 2.5%. I mean, all you have to do is live in the real world, and you know how your money goes. There is inflation. There is no way around it. Name one thing that the price has really gone down significantly. Name one thing. I'm open. I could be talked out of things if I'm wrong. I try to be open-minded. I do. I try. I don't always succeed. Name one thing that the price has gone down. Now, look, I would say that a year and a half ago, gasoline went down, but it's still um, not inexpensive. It almost hit $4 a gallon in many places. I think in California it went over $4. Oil has gone down, but yeah, the price of the futures has gone down. But has lumber gone down? Has Parmesan cheese gone down? Has the price of pasta gone down? Sneakers, anything. If you have kids, forget it. Forget it. Pets. They were saying it's more expensive to have pets than it is to have kids now. I know that my daughter, her dog had a dental, and it was $1,000. That's a bit much. Watching the MES, watching the YM, watching bonds. Let's look at the DMM. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome, everyone. What we have on our hands, when you look at the DMM and you see a multitude of different setups, it means we have a history, a report that has a history of inconsistency. That's what we're dealing with CPI. There, of course, there's opportunity. There's opportunity because you can get what we call a breakout for all. What would you say the definition of a breakout for all is? It's when almost any instrument that you would look at has a good breakout event. And we had a breakout for all in April. Let's take a look at what happened in April. Yes, let's be positive. I think I'm not trying to be negative. All I'm saying is inflation, if it's being looked at with reality, it's definitely significantly higher than 2.5%. These government reports look at data very selectively, and that's why sometimes the reports don't seem to reflect real life. I don't think the reports haven't been changed to be more ominous. You know, the Democrats didn't change the reports to be better. The Republicans didn't change the reports to be better. These reports are essentially the same as they've been for a very long time. When a report changes, it's pretty big news. You know, a couple of years ago, the ADP report, they announced they were changing the way they came up with the data. So there's not changes generally made to these reports, but the way they've been designed is they're very selective in the way they look at data. They don't always reflect what's going on in life for regular people. April 10th. Now, like I was saying, this has truly been a report that behaves quite inconsistently, but there is opportunity. You know, we've never come up with a trap trade. The reason we don't have a trap trade, at least, you know, someone who understands how to do a trap trade could come up with a trap trade at the moment, an at the moment trap trade. But because there's such a wide variety of movement, sometimes from month to month on this report, you don't have a set level, set number of ticks that would be a zone of safety. In other words, I'll show you we have spike sheets even though we don't have a trap for this. Last month, the MES, you could see the data was frozen. That is a potential. The chart was somewhat frozen. That is a potential issue this morning, particularly on prop data feeds. When cash freezes, the platform, for instance, it's usually for a much shorter period of time than we've seen some of the data feeds freeze on the prop accounts. I don't know the reason why the freeze occurs on the prop accounts. I suppose it could be because the servers are overloaded. But when you see orange orders, it often means that that is not working properly. Nevertheless, our MES trade still worked last quarter, and that's something that we deal with also. Sometimes you'll get what looks like data is frozen and the trade will work fine. I would say that more often than not, they work fine. In this case, last month, the platform looks like it froze for quite a few seconds. MGC, which we do not trade as a breakout, had a nice little magnet there. And then bonds also had a nice move. It's as I said, last month was a breakout for all. Everything, almost every instrument had a tradable, profitable breakout. Looking at March, in March, I think we also had a pretty good breakout. In March, the YM moved 300 ticks. 300. 230 in April. Does that mean now this is a video that doesn't work? See, sometimes a video, I try to go forward in the video and it doesn't work. Let's see if it's a very short one. Maybe it is working. So March also looked like it was a pretty good breakout for all. It was very fast. Big move on the YM. We took the risk on it. Pretty nice move on gold also. So if you want to reduce risk on this report, we do have the setup available for MES, ZF, if you want to trade bonds, okay? Bonds we cannot trade in Bull and Ox or in Apex. I don't think Lilu is tradable on bonds either. Right now I don't have a Lilu. What's with the names of these prop accounts? Bull and Ox, Lilu. Give me an Apex. Give me a normal name. I've been getting um, Charles, on a day like today, that is not a big bracket. So think about it this way. If the MES moved 80 ticks, right? Let's say it moved 80 ticks, 85 ticks in April, and the bracket's 30. If you have 30 or 40 ticks of profit on a report that bursts and reverses quickly, that's perfectly okay. Most reports don't give you that much profit. In March, we had 200 ticks of movement on the ES. So a 10 bracket is not acceptable. It's just in relation to the size of the moves, you have to increase the brackets and the stops, especially in this volatility. Now, look, the market's not as volatile as it was 2 weeks ago. But this is a report that it has a history of very large moves. If you look at the sheet that we created, just looking at the ES moves, April was 80, March it moved 160, February was a whipsaw, and January it moved 180. Prior to January, the report was more normal. 10 ticks, 75 ticks, 30 ticks, October, September 70. That was more normal. But I expect we're going to see these outsized moves today. That's what I expect. I'm going to trade very conservatively on this report today. I think ES and YM, I'll trade in two separate prop accounts. Bonds are only in cash, and as everyone knows, we're trading ultra conservatively in our cash account. This would not be, if I had only a cash account, and that was the only account I had, um, I would trade ZF. So let's put the ZF on, but it's not my only account. And if I were retired, not working anymore, I would most probably not trade the ZF breakout in my family money account. This is not a family money trade because of the risk and the years of inconsistency. Yes, it could have a nice response. 829.58 on bonds. The bracket is 8. Position 1 is a 1, position 2 is a 1. That just very simply means you have one contract for each position. Target 1 is going to be an 8, and target 2 anywhere between 8 and 25-ish is within reason for ZF. And then the stop is 20. And I do use the target 1 stop move. If my first target gets hit, I do a BE minus, anywhere between BE minus 3 to 7, break even minus 3, break even minus 4, whatever the way you like to manage. Then don't forget, always label BRKZF, and I'm going to put the time on 0 so we could manage our brackets. Remember what happens when you put time on 0 and you enable the event. When there's price movement, you'll see the movement as long as you're on the right account. Okay, as soon as there's price movement. And then you can adjust your brackets so you can manage the trade. Okay? And it also gives you a look, how volatile is the current market? Are you in danger of getting filled if you put your orders on the chart right now? That's always something we're interested in seeing. How volatile is the current market? That's what it tells us. Then I go back and I put my time back to correct, 829.58. 829.58. Apply it, okay it, and I'm going to save templates. I haven't saved templates. Strategy, template, save, CPI, ZF, today's date. All right, so bonds, we're just simming. All right, no embarrassment. On MES, I'll go to my main chart, right-click the chart, click on Strategy, click News Trader. Trade type is a breakout, 829.58. Bracket is 30. That's only ticks now. That's only ticks. Position 1's a 1, position 2's a 1. And our targets are small, that's the truth. First target is 20. Second target is really up to you all. It could be anywhere between 30 and 100. I mean, that's how much kind of movement you could get on this report. It could be rather large. Just you have to remember there will most probably also be a change in direction. There will be some chop. Stop is 50. It's $1.12. This is $1.25 or $1.12 a tick. $1.12 a tick. It's 12.50 full size, $1.12 a tick. All right. Stop is 50, and I always use a break even, a BE, on most reports. And then we label it BRKMES. I'll save the template, CPI, MES, today's date. And then we'll set the time to 0. We'll do the same thing. Apply it. Okay it. And I have to connect my Buell Knox. I think Buell Knox is a much nicer way to pronounce their name. Now I don't have my Apex account set up. I've got to set that up today. So there's our bracket. Unchecking the MES and then putting it the time back on 8:29, and I will set up a reverse continuation and after the news MES setup. First, double check the time is correct. I'll choose an account to trade it also. Number 13, apply it and okay it. So my breakout is ready. Chart trader needs to be on number 13 account. All right. And just setting up a reverse continuation with the MES. So add a second strategy to the chart the same way you add the breakout. Just the trade type becomes a reverse continuation. And we'll do position 1 will be a 2. I'll do 2 contracts. Just one position. I'll look for a big target like 75 ticks. And I'll use a 50 tick stop. It's really reversal continuations are, so if a trend is created after the news, you have an opportunity to take advantage and enter it. All you need for a reverse continue is a position, a target, and a stop. And then don't forget, if it's on the same chart as another setup, make the account the same chart, right? And then enable it. When you enable a reverse continuation, you get your buttons. And you can check in your control panel that your accounts match your chart trader, right? You can look at the account displayed tab here, and I can see number 13 is chosen inside the software. So I make sure my chart trader matches that. So Frank, the target for MES anywhere between 30 and 150. I mean, there could be 200 ticks of movement. So I'm just using 50, 60 in that area because I think there will be possible data feed, possible issues or reversal issues. So I'm not being greedy on anything. And then YM has also been moving very well as a breakout. YM is a breakout, 829.58. Bracket of 40 on the YM. That is not a very big bracket in this day and age. Position 1's a 1, position 2 is a 1. Targets Anywhere between 20 and 100 is not unreasonable on the YM, right? And then I do a break even minus BE minus 3, 4, or 5 on target one stop move. Stop is 50 on the YM. That's $250 if everything goes according to plan, right? You want it to go according to plan, meaning it doesn't use too many more ticks than your stop is. Super fast markets, your stop can double. 829.58 on the YM, bracket of 40, targets anywhere between 15 and 150. We've had 200 tick moves on the YM. Stop is 50. You can use micros on this report. We did test MES. We did not test MYM. Okay. We only have so much time to test every instrument. There's so many instruments that can move on this report. BRKYM, we will label it since I'm saving templates. What's nice about saving templates is when you come back next month, you can look up CPI, YM, today's date, right? You can see how you traded it. That's why it's nice to save templates. Setting the time to 0 just to look at our bracket management. And remember, you can get rid of the line. If you don't like the line showing up when your brackets show up, go to optional, show vertical line on entry, and you can uncheck it and turn it off if you want to get rid of the line, that vertical line. All right, YM 829.58. Position 1 is a 1, position 2 is a 1. Anywhere between 15 and 150 on your targets, 50 on the stop. If we get a breakout for all, then we'll have a good morning. If we get a whippy, crazy kind of move, then we'll be crying in our proverbial corner. All right? No one says you have to trade this most inconsistent report that we have, one of the most. Often there is profit, often there is chaos. We blew up a prop account with this report not that long ago, 2 months ago, I believe. So you just have to be aware that things can go wrong. Apply it. Choosing a prop account for YM 12, different than my other, and enable it. Double check your time before you enable. 829.58 breakout. Okay, it is a yes. And you can set up a reverse continue on YM if you want to. I've got 4 setups. It's confusing enough. So I've got my MES as my reverse continue. So I'll stick with that. Okay. I'll stick with that. Just for fun, let's look at CPI going back to last year, November. All right. Usually I like to look at a year ago. November we had ZF and micro gold. Okay. Trap trade on micro gold. Watching here. So we have micro gold on the left. ZF on the right, and you had some pre-news volatility, which is not unusual. Now, gold was a good trap to start because it popped right to the first entry, but then it kept pushing up. You could see bonds had a pretty solid move up. Gold kept pushing, and then it did its reversal thing. All right, so there was a very nice reversal. All right, I'm not going to pay attention to bonds. They will pretty much trade themselves. The MES is almost flat this morning, and the YM or the Dow futures are down over 150, which is nothing in this day and age. That's not very much, right? And I do want to thank everybody who's watching us on YouTube. Hit that like button and hit the notification bell so you know the next time we'll be streaming. We are streaming one more time this week, an extra stream this week. All right, so we're just being patient, waiting for the market to respond. What instrument was I trading when the account blew up? It's a good question, Roz. I don't remember. I think it was gold. I think it was gold. I think the charts froze also. So CPI year over year 2.4. They're looking at the core year over year 2.8, 0.3 on the month over month. So we'll see what happens here. MES on the left. Probably should pay attention to YM. That's my most valuable trade. So that's the middle chart is YM, not MYM, YM. All right, just a few seconds. There's our brackets. All right, looks like a breakout for all people. Looks like a breakout, except I filled on the MES with no orders on the chart. So I'm going to close it with a profit here. Close it with a profit. That's a fake order, that orange order. Bonds look like they would have worked. All right. You could expand your target. Looks like the news is a bit better than expected. The market's going to love that. That's what it looks like initially. Made a very nice profit on the YM, decent little micro profit on MES. Bonds are still trading. If you notice, bonds are still trading. Bonds are in sim also. So really, bonds are serious trades. The real trades are done. Now the question is there an opportunity for any reverse continuation here? That orange order is a fake order. If I, okay, bonds just hit my stop, would have been looks like it would have been a nice profit. My MES, it didn't function properly, but I was able to see whether I was in a trade profitable or not. So I was able to just not panic. If things aren't going the way you expect, look at your price, see if you're profitable, look at the direction on your chart trader, make sure that it all makes sense. You could either put orders on the chart if for some reason there aren't orders, or you can, when you're in a fat profit, hit the close button. I prefer not to hit the close button. Let me listen to the news for a second. Hold on. So I'm just reading. Everybody type in what happened to you. Calvin made money on MYM. Nitin had a nice YM trade. YM was great. YM had a very nice move. We'll look at the video in a second. So let's say you have these spurious orders that show up. You can reboot your platform, and that will almost always get rid of any spurious orders. So what I would do is I would uncheck my trades, do a quick reboot of my platform, save my workspace, then reboot it real quick. All right, Doc, let me save your image because I can't see it. Now everything looks normal. I'm not taking a second trade right now on this one at the moment. It's too late already, in my opinion. Nice pullback on bonds. Everything pulled back. Look at the move you had on MES. It was a very big upward move. Doc, I'm assuming you traded like maybe 4 contracts on YM? 4 or 5? 3? Okay. All right, so I'm not getting so TJ, you had an MES loss. Let's look now. MES, let's look at the video. Let's look at the video. Give me a second to render it. Now, don't be shy, everybody. Type in what happened to you. It really helps us when we get ready to trade the next time. Everything that people say and do, I try to put it in my journal so I know what happened to members. I traded micros on MES, Arthur. It was 33. 33 on micro MES, 410 on YM, and that was in prop, and then Bullinox, sim on bonds, sim on bonds. Let's look at the video and see if some of these results make sense, appear to make sense. So first things first, let me get rid of the clock. We don't need it. So here's a video of the move. Let's watch the MES first on the left. So here's MES. So the issue with MES, the data feed looks like, and the charts froze. That's at least what happened on my MES. It froze pretty strongly. But almost everyone is saying they made money nevertheless. If you can, you should always try to record your trades. So if something unexpected happens, you can look at the charts, look at the data, and see if anything happened that might explain why you had the result that you had. So for us, MES didn't execute properly because it looked like the chart froze and the data froze. It was a spectacular move that should have hit all your targets almost immediately in most cases. In many cases, it would have hit your targets and taken you out of the trade anyway. But not always if you have trouble with data and chart freezing. YM had a big burst. And to me, right now, it looks like you could see the YM had a data freeze for just an instant, had a nice move up, filled the targets, pulled back rather quickly, and then bonds, which were in sim, not in prop. Now bonds, now I could see why one person could have, why someone could have lost money on bonds. Bonds did a pretty big pullback. So, however, I don't know. I would have to look and see. I would want to see a video if someone lost money on bonds. It would really depend. It's very dependent upon your fill. If you got a very bad fill, bonds did pull back quite a bit initially, and then they pushed up. So it's always about the pullback, where you got filled, and what Nitin says, if you're trading in a prop account, if you keep your R trader open, right? Your rhythmic platform open. If Ninja Trader should do something that you can't close a trade or things are frozen, then that's the point of having R Trader. You can go into your R Trader and close your orders that way. Finish the trade if something untoward should happen. All right. Yes, Arthur, R Trader Pro. Everything pulled back now after the news. So we'll let the markets absorb the data, right? We'll let the markets absorb the data. Before we close the room, I want to say thank you to everyone watching on YouTube. Hit the like button on your way out, and we do have another stream this week. You'll get an email and a notification. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. I'm going to shut our stream. Appreciate you watching. Another winner for most traders, 2 in a row this week. So thanks on YouTube. I'll see you next time.